Hello, my name is Meg, and today we are going to make clay and flower and herb face masks, and it's like a face scrub too. If you're familiar with Lush, one of their products that I loved when I did buy Lush for many years was Angels on Bare Skin. So this is kind of inspired by that, but I saw over the years how much you can tweak it and make a recipe your own. You basically have 4 components of what's like a fresh face mask, facial scrub. You have a clay, you have a liquid like rose water, witch hazel, any hydrosols made from flowers, and then you have what's called like a humectant, a thick liquid, and that would be like vegetable glycerin, vitamin E, aloe gel, not aloe liquid, and castor oil. So once you have those 4 components, you can change it up however your skin needs, whatever works best on your skin. So today I'm just going to show 2 simple recipes that are examples of that, but then I'm also going to have like a chart for you all to be able to pick one of those 4 and make your own. So they keep really nice in the refrigerator, and whenever you run out, you just make a fresh batch. And I'll show you at the end of this, so I don't have makeup on. I'll show you how simple it is to use. It's, again, very similar to how you use Angels on Bare Skin and Herbalism from Lush. You just put a blob in your hand and make it into like a paste with some water, and you can apply it and rinse it off right away or scrub with it right away, or you can let it sit there for a little bit like a mask. So let's get to it and make the first one. So I'm going to introduce the clays first. The clay is the most important part of this mask and face scrub because the clay is what's going to pull the impurities out of your skin. And all clays are gentle and good for your skin, but they all have slightly different properties. Feel free to look them up yourself, but I'll just say the basics. The first is Kaolin Clay. It's a white clay, very soft to the touch. This is used by a lot of soap makers to anchor scent and to give your soap a nice slip. I use it in my bubble bars and bath bombs too. It's what makes draw toxins out in the bath for you too, and also as a binder to help all the butters bind to the baking soda and stuff. But it is a wonderful clay to use for a face scrub or mask because it's super gentle. It's good for like itchy, dry, sensitive skin. It is the clay that's in Angels on Bare Skin. So if you like that and you want to make the closest thing to it, that's your one. So the next is Calamine Clay, which is a gorgeous light pink. The ultimate on red, itchy, irritated skin. Just it alone as a paste with water or with liquid aloe is wonderful. It is a little bit pricey, but if you have that kind of skin type, especially on your face, it is worth every penny. Next would be the French green clay, which is a lovely light green color. It becomes more green as you add it to water. It is more for like blemishes and oily skin. People who have that kind of skin type will really benefit from it. And sometimes it's called European clay powder. It's not always called French green clay. Next is Bentonite Clay, which is gray. It looks kind of similar to French green clay until you mix it, and then you see how gray it is. It is also a very detoxifying, good clay to use for basically normal skin. Also too on the ends of oily but sensitive folks can usually use bentonite clay too without too much trouble. And the last one, which makes a lovely like chocolatey brown mask, is what's called Moroccan clay or red clay. Sometimes it's called Mediterranean red clay. It's such a lovely color. It might be a little bit messy in using a face mask, but definitely worth it. It is very gentle. It is good for mature skin and sensitive skin too. So it's just a lovely clay all around. So these are what they all look like. And like I said, you pick one of these based on your skin type or based on what you know has worked for you before. And that will be the clay in your recipe. The first one I'm going to make is my version of the Angels on Bare Skin. I don't use the ground almonds just because me personally, almonds don't work well on my skin, and two, the nut oil can make it kind of go rancid sometimes in a hot house. Like my house doesn't have air conditioning in the summer, and even in the refrigerator it just doesn't keep all that well with the nuts in it. And I also just think nuts are a little too scrubby, especially for people with really sensitive skin like mine. So I decided a long time ago when I started to make this for myself that I really just didn't need the almonds. And in their recipe they have chamomile oil, so instead of the scrubbiness of the almonds, I decided to use actual flowers. So these are Egyptian chamomile flowers, until someday that I hopefully will be able to grow my own. And I just take 1 tablespoon of the flowers and I put it in my mortar and pestle. I don't want to grind them up to an oblivion, but I don't want them as finely ground as the ground chamomile that you can buy. You want it to still have some shape, but not be like sticks and little buds. So that's pretty much perfect. You can kind of crush things just a little bit. And take out one of these long stems. And that's kind of what you're going for. Next up is lavender. Again, in Angels and Bare Skin, they have lavender buds. And I wish you guys could smell this jar. Oh my goodness. I get my lavender from local lavender farms. We have 3 in the town that I live in. So I can get them fresh and local, which is just absolutely wonderful. They're a really beautiful color as well. And again, you're not going to want to make this a complete powder. You're going to crush the petals, not only to release their scent and their oils to help your skin, but also just to help make it more of a good scrub. Releasing the oils is everything. They use essential oils in Angels on Bare Skin, and of course it's all up to you if you want to use essential oils in any of the recipes that you come up with, by all means. But for me, I feel like the flowers and the herbs are enough of a scent, and essential oils, you must respect how strong they are. I use them to make soap because making soap is quite a process to where it's going to take the intensity of them away, but you always want to be so careful and respect an essential oil because of how strong they are. And I just feel like the flowers speak for themselves. You really don't need them. So there is our flowers, 2 tablespoons, 1 of each. And then next we will go with the clay. And since this is going to be essentially like a dupe of Angels on Bare Skin, I'm going to use what they use, which is Kaolin Clay. And I find that Kaolin Clay works really nice on my skin. If my face is very irritated like it has in the past, like when I used to walk dogs with my husband for many years out in the frigid cold in Chicago, I switched it up to Calamine just because I needed it, but Kaolin works. So this is 1/4 cup. Next, and this is the part that makes you need to keep them in the fridge, and why I think that they deserve to be made fresh rather than, you know, I could have made powder mixes or mixed them for you and sell them, but I don't feel comfortable doing that because, you know, I don't like preservatives, and to have the liquid portion of things is why you would need a preservative. So like I had mentioned, you could use many different what's called hydrosols, which is like a water made infused with a flower or a herb. Mountain Rose Herbs is a wonderful source for hydrosols. You can also make them yourself and find other places as well, but I've always trusted Mountain Rose Herbs. So I have rose water, because rose again adds to the lovely smell, and it really helps my skin. So then we put in 1 tablespoon of rose water. And then the very last ingredient is the humectant, the thick liquid. And for this, again, I'm keeping it close to what they use for Angels on Bare Skin. So I'm going to use vegetable glycerin. It is something that if you don't approve of palm oil, by all means pick a different humectant. The kind that I buy is from Essential Depot, and it is fair trade and sustainable, so that's crucial. I don't use palm oil in making soaps, but I find that there's very little substitute for glycerin when it comes to bubble bars, and that's just why I have it on hand. So it's 1 teaspoon of the humectant. You can use vitamin E if you have a pure vitamin E. You can use castor oil, which is also really nice for your skin. And you can use a pure aloe gel. Anything that's thick like that will work. Now we're ready to stir. It is that simple, and it comes together that fast. You can always, of course, use a mixer, but just a good stir by hand will bring it all together. And I'll show you another little helpful tip in a second here. Smells absolutely incredible. And as you can see, it really doesn't make much. And that's because you want to have it fresh, and this is probably enough to use it a few times in 1 week, And then next week you make a fresh batch. So next I use this eco-friendly parchment paper that I use for baking. You don't have to do this step. You can just put it straight into a jar like this. But if you want to kind of sculpt it into a little shape or a ball, just like Lush does, it's wonderful. This batch is for me, of course, so it's okay to use my fingers. They are clean. Get out every last bit that you can. And just get it onto the paper. Now, bring it together, both sides. You can just kind of press it together. You can store it in the fridge like this as long as it's wrapped up, or you can put it in a glass jar with a lid, plastic jar that you reused, whatever works good for you. And you can use it right away, of course, while it's still kind of soft, or you can put it in the fridge and get it kind of cold so it solidifies a little bit more. I'll move on to the next recipe and then I'll show you how to use it. The next one is going to be a green mask, which is wonderful for oily and blemish prone skin. It's also going to be very nicely fragrant from the two herbs that are going in. The first one being thyme. Beautiful thyme leaves. Make sure you don't get the powder. I mean, you can use the powder, but to get the leaves will add to the scrubby aspect, the very gently scrubby aspect of it that you'd want. Next is sage leaves. And again, you can look up the properties of all different herbs and how they affect the skin. Rosemary is also just my all-around favorite herb and would be wonderful in this as well. So many herbs would be. Anything from the mint family, which would be great. This lovely basil that I grew in my garden back here. Anything you like the smell of and that you know the properties of will help your skin and feel nice on your skin. Okay. 1/4 cup of the French green clay. Bentonite clay would also be really nice in this one as well. Next is the liquid, and in this one I'm going to use witch hazel, which is a wonderful liquid to use for acne prone skin. It's wonderful in general for so many different reasons. That's why it's called witch hazel, because it is absolute magic. 1 tablespoon of witch hazel. Make sure you find a very pure one that has no other additives. And for the humectant, the thick liquid, I am going to use aloe. Again, find it as pure as you can, no additives. Aloe is also really wonderful on acne-prone skin. It's very healing. So that's all in there. Give it a good mix. And if things don't come together, this is just the basic start of a recipe. If it's, dry in your house or humid, you can tweak the amounts however you need. Sometimes you need a little more liquid. Like this one, I feel like it needs just a little more liquid. These herbs are very astringent, so it makes sense that it needs a little bit more liquid. Add maybe 1 more teaspoon of the aloe. Aloe is another one that would be lovely even if you had the sensitive skin to add as your humectant, or if you've been out in the sun and you're sunburned. A calamine one that's with the aloe in it as well would just be absolute magic on sunburned skin. See, there we go. Now we got that texture that I need. And again, we'll do the parchment paper to let this all come together. You can leave it loose like this and crumbly and put it in a jar just like it is. But if you want to make it more pretty and in a shape, by all means. There. This one is more crumbly, as you can see. Again, like I said, because of their astringent herbs, but it will come together. Put it together and press. And this one is ready to put in the refrigerator as well. Ready to use some of our Angel's kind. Take off a nice size piece, about like that. About All right, so my face feels very, very nice. And the smell lasts on the skin too, from the rose and the lavender and the chamomile. It makes you feel soft, but it also, you can really feel what the clay does for you. Again, by all means, make the paste really thick and put it on like a mask and let it sit for 5-10 minutes if you'd like. I usually don't have that kind of time. Like right now it's early, my kids are gonna wake up any minute, so it's better to do the scrub. But even as a scrub, you can feel when you really work it in there of it getting all the impurities out of your pores of your nose and your cheeks and your chin and everything. So I really hope you give these a try, that you make it your own, that you make something that you're proud of and that works really good for you. And then it's just one less thing that you have to buy. And supplies for it last a really long time. In the fridge, it keeps for probably about a week, as long as you aren't approaching it with dirty hands. And whenever you run out, you make something fresh. So thank you so much for watching today. And if you make your own concoction, please tell me about it. Write it in the comments. I'd love to see.